I'm David Skvor, artist and author of the book, The Trinity of Art. As earlier stated in my podcast, the purpose of these podcasts are to allow you into my mind, the world of the artist, and particularly my thinking methods and how I arrive to my artistic expression. The subject that I'll be using today is this painting called Still Life with Fruit. And it looks rather a simple exercise, and I thought this morning, I'm not going to have much to say about this, but as I set up and pondered things, more things kept coming to me. I sort of get the feeling that I'm not going to get through this on one take with the camera because it's going to run out of ammo. So I've got the old egg timer going. Anyone familiar with life drawing sessions will know. So there we go, she's on. All right. Obviously, I've got a bowl of fruit here. Now, I never particularly rated a bowl of fruit as great subject matter for art. And I don't want to disparage people who do still life, but for me, well, there's a bit of a misnomer in my head when they call it still life, because for me, a model holding a pose is still life. To me, fruit's been cut off from its source. It's dead. Well, it's dying. It's not going to make it. So anyway, and I always thought there's only two ways you can actually do a still life, whether it be a bowl of flowers or a vase of flowers or a bowl of fruit, was either a perfect representation, almost photorealism, or an impressionistic way of tackling it. There's no in-betweens. If you miss the mark, you're not going to make it. It's not going to work. Well, I've done it anyway. I've gone middle of the road. I've shot my arrow in between the two. Getting onto this process, how does it happen? And I thought about that, and in my book I've stated that ideas or concepts or images come to us, and the conception is like the twinkling of an eye. So it was with this painting here, and I lost the drawing. It's somewhere. I've searched high and low for it, but it's in my book, so I can show you that way. But there's more on that, a discovery I made looking for that drawing. So I'll just grab it. So anyway, I'm sitting in my studio one day at the desk, and boom, comes into my head. There it is. That's. I scribbled it down straight away. Now, there's an interesting point about that. For me, paintings are apparitions. They're ghosts. And until they appear, you'll be haunted by them. They're there forever. When I went to art school, we were told a story. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but it's worth believing it or using it as an example. And it was said of Picasso, he would sketch down a drawing or painting and he'd just rip it out of the book, throw it on the ground, and he was famous by then, so obviously he didn't care anymore. But his missus, I don't know which one, she'd go around and collect all these up. And there was another story where he was walking along the beach and an idea had come into his head, and he just drew it on the sand with a stick. But then the waves had come and washed it away and it was gone. So for me, unless you catch that image, it's like a ghost. You'll be haunted by it forever. You've got to get it down. Once it's down and completed, it becomes real. And then you're released from it. And then you can go into the next thing. Bit weird, bit abstract. Okay. Just my way of thinking. But ghosts is a big theme in my artistic journey. I don't know where it come from. I don't know why it's happened. And I don't know what it means. But we're going to get there eventually. Now, Okay, a bowl of fruit. At art school, we were given exercises. I can't remember if we did a bowl of fruit, but we would have done something similar. And the purpose of it is, one, to teach the student to capture the image of shapes. The other is form and volume. The other is to place things so you get the correct composition. And thirdly, it's an exercise that often teaches us about light and shadow. Now, when I did that initial sketch, bang, it's down. What happens next in the process? And for me, and I don't think others, it's foreign to everyone, it's just we probably don't think about it. But so the next thing I did, I've done that drawing, bang, it's on there, I've got it now, it's part of me. The next thing, going back to that shape, form, shadow, light, composition, I've sketched it down. I started playing with it and toying with the idea. And that's where I've said in my book, the extrapolation of an idea or a concept to get it to the finished product is where lives are won or lost. It's the endeavour and it's the arduous task of copying what's in your mind's eye exactly and getting it there so that it conveys that image and emotion and feeling that you had onto the viewer. So this process, though something looks so simple, there's a lot involved, and that's why I thought I'd run through it. So initially, a sketch, my first draft. Then I cleaned that up and worked on the shapes and got them more flowing and the way I liked them, the ones that tickled my fancy. Then I started playing with colour. So you throw a few colours around, get things going. And notice here the grapes are purple. So once again, I use broader smashes of colour there, and then, I got them down. Next one, I started to refine it. And what I've actually done here, and it's an interesting point, I've used colour like the shadow. So just remember that one. I'll come back to that. Now, you'll notice in this one, down here there's some more grapes. The next one, I got rid of them. The balance was wrong somehow. I don't know why. So there it goes again. Then finally, and that's composition. So when you get that right, next thing, you've got to get that little sketch there onto a canvas, like, 900 by 12, whatever it is. I've told you before, my method of extrapolation is using the old-fashioned grid method, where I draw grids on the drawing, draw it on the canvas, draw it up, and then start to work the painting. So that's the process of how I got that initial drawing onto here. Now I'll go back to that other drawing. Oh, one more thing. Colour. Here's the colour wheel for this. Now, as I've said before, colour doesn't happen by accident or chance. It's a very painstaking, exact sort of discipline. And as a lot of work goes into selecting colours, it's as much as composition and the other facets of a painting that are very important. So there's a lot of work there, mucking around and playing. And you'll notice I've got notes everywhere. I've even recorded the colour of the paints I've used, some notes of why and how they do. Use different colours for backgrounds as shadows. Interesting. Going back to this initial drawing, the concept, what do you see? I've sort of made the bowl of fruit look like a female form standing up. So in that, what I hope I've captured in the end is a sensuality of fruit in a bowl in the female form. And that's a bit weird, but that's what I did. So, okay, I've had to tackle a few issues. Just going to check the egg timer. I don't think it's working. All right. So, what I've done here is I've used a colour of a plum for the tummy, yellow for the legs. I don't know why I did that, but they're yellow. Green grapes and red for an apple. Now, I had a problem. I thought, well, okay, this is where toying with ideas and concepts to get them out is difficult. So I've used grey as a shadow, not black. And it works quite well. And you'll notice here, all this negative space appears. And it actually, as I said before, is a positive space. And that gives the illusion or the impression of the bowl and the shape of the bowl. It wasn't a construct, it just seems to happen in my work, and that's a classic example here. So I've used the colours as shadows instead of the grey everywhere. So I've killed two birds with one stone there. I've coloured the piece of fruit. I've given it a colour in your mind's eye, and you know, it's green grape, red apple, yellow banana. So the brain's pretty happy with that. Then, by doing it shadowing, you end up with form. So volume. So that works well. So I'm starting to solve a few problems here. I forgot about composition. So that initial concept or idea, I had the bowl of fruit, or the pieces of fruit, trying to represent the female form. Now there's no message in there, no symbolism. So yes, just as I suspected, the camera ran out of petrol. Where was I? So in that initial thing, sketch and concept, I've tried to convey the female form. So that's where composition came into it for me. So once again, I said, you have to toy with ideas and wrestle and get things to sit in balance. So I know it sounds silly, but obviously these are two legs. And then I've put a plum in there, which is like your tummy, and then the head, and the grapes, which is probably in this is a necklace, all right, for all intents and purposes, but or an arm. So now, an interesting challenge with this, when you do a piece of fruit and you have light coming in, then you have shadow, you have to get light. Or a highlight, the light spot. So I thought, how am I going to do this? So what I did, knowing that everything's white, I needed to make whiter than white. Like that point of, you know, glistening off the fruit. So I used black. So I've done these sort of, I suppose we call them hashes or something on the phone, you know, you push the hashtag or button. And I've tried to do them with an immediacy in their lines, so they look quick. So that to me was a real problem solver there. I've used black to make white. That does my head in, that one. Now, when I was looking for that initial sketch, I thought, I was going through all these files, pulling out files, looking, where's that bloody drawing? And you know what I found? I'm going to show you something. I found this. It's a drawing my daughter did maybe 10, 15 years ago. She was only 7 or 8. And there it is. That's her concept. I didn't even know I had it. It was amongst all the other stuff. So in the twinkling of an eye, this little kid had just put that down. Whoa. But I knew something else. She did a painting. I didn't know about the drawing. There's the painting. It made me feel, this rings true. I didn't teach you that. It came naturally to a kid. See, kids' imaginations, they don't have filters. They haven't been crushed by our concepts or thoughts of creativity or expectations. They just go boom, boom, boom. So for me, what I'm telling you is right. Well, it's right for me. It was right for the little one. So I'm not telling you how to paint. I'm just telling you how I think. And there's probably, I thought there was going to be a lot more I had to say today, but it's gone. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode and getting to see my reclining nude made out of fruit. I've got a question for you though. What do you do with those ideas and concepts that come to you? Do you tear them out of the book and throw them on the ground? Screw them up? Do you let the tide of time wash over them so they disappear? Are you haunted by them? Those are good questions. I hope I get the opportunity to share more insights into this, the mind of the artist and the world that we live in. Thanks.